What if the person you trusted the most, your husband, your partner of over a decade, did the unthinkable? What if, while you were away working to help build a future for both of you, he brought another woman into your home? Into your bed? Hi, I'm Ruby, and today, I'll take you inside a story of betrayal so cold it could freeze your soul, and a revenge so poetic it left an entire neighborhood talking. This is the story of Natalie, a woman who flew across the country for work, and came back early to a home she didn't recognize and a plan she had to execute with a calm, calculated rage. Stay with me, because what she did next, nobody, absolutely nobody, saw it coming. Natalie and Eric, for 14 years, their names were practically synonymous in their quiet, cozy suburb just outside of Portland. They had the kind of life people envied. A 2-story home with a wraparound porch that Natalie loved to decorate for the seasons. A garden bursting with color that she tended to with almost obsessive care. And a kitchen she had personally remodeled, pouring her own bonus checks into making it the heart of their home. Eric, on the surface, he was the picture of the charming, attentive husband. He'd pour the wine without asking, knew exactly how she liked her coffee, and never failed to rub her shoulders after a particularly brutal day at work. He'd kiss her forehead before turning off the bedside lamp, a little ritual that spoke of routine, comfort, and what she believed was unwavering affection. Natalie was a corporate project manager, a job that demanded long hours and, frequently, travel. It wasn't ideal, being away from home, away from Eric, but it was necessary. They had plans, dreams of early retirement, maybe a small cabin by the lake. This travel was the price of those dreams, and she paid it willingly. And no matter how hectic her schedule, how many time zones she crossed, she always made time for him. A quick call, a loving text, a little something extra in her suitcase to surprise him with. She made the effort because she believed in their partnership, in their future, and in him. She always believed the best in him. But sometimes, the smallest cracks appear in the most solid foundations. Looking back, Natalie could see them, tiny shifts she had dismissed, explained away, or simply chosen not to see because the picture of their happy life was too precious to disrupt. He stopped texting as much when she was away. The flood of, missing you, and, wish you were here, texts dwindled to a sporadic, have a good day, or a thumbs up emoji. He forgot birthdays and anniversaries, important dates that had once been etched into their shared calendar. He started working late, a common enough occurrence in their corporate world. But there was something about it that didn't sit right. He'd come home later and later, but never seemed stressed, never complained about the workload, never brought home the scent of stale office coffee or the frustration of a project gone wrong. Instead, he smelled faintly of a perfume she didn't recognize, a floral scent that was too sweet, too cloying. She told herself it was just a new coworker, someone who used a bit too much fragrance. And then there was that one trip, the trip to San Diego, the trip that would shatter the picture-perfect life Natalie thought she had. The San Diego trip was supposed to be routine. Fly out Thursday, a quick project pitch Friday morning, a client dinner Friday night, and back home Sunday afternoon. Simple, straightforward, just another business trip blurring into the next. But barely a day in, things felt off. From the moment her plane landed, a subtle unease settled in Natalie's stomach. Eric wasn't answering her calls. His replies to her texts were short, clipped, one-word answers that were the antithesis of their usual playful banter. Busy. Later. Okay. It was like pulling teeth to get anything more out of him. She told herself he was just having a bad day. Maybe a crisis at work she didn't know about. She was miles away, she couldn't possibly know everything. Then, the Ring camera at the front door mysteriously went offline. Natalie had installed it for peace of mind. A little digital guardian watching over their home when they were away. It had never failed before. She tried resetting it remotely, but nothing worked. A knot of worry tightened in her chest. Was someone trying to break in? Was something wrong? She called their internet provider, her voice tight with anxiety. They ran diagnostics, checked the connection, nothing wrong on their end. They said, everything looked normal, everything felt anything but normal to Natalie. The real shock came in a text from her best friend, Amanda. Amanda lived a few neighborhoods over. Their friendship a constant, comforting presence in Natalie's life. Her text was hesitant, almost apologetic. Hey, weird question. Is that your husband in the grocery store with a red-haired woman? Looked cozy. Natalie's heart dropped into her stomach like a stone. Eric hated grocery shopping, absolutely despised it. He would go to almost any length to avoid it. The thought of him being there, looking cozy, with another woman, It was a scenario her mind refused to fully process. She tried to push the rising panic down. There had to be a rational explanation. Maybe it was a colleague. Maybe a client. Maybe Amanda was mistaken. She opened the Find My app on her phone. The app they used to keep track of each other. A practical tool for coordinating schedules that now felt like a lifeline. His location was disabled. A cold dread began to spread through her veins. He never disabled his location. Never. With trembling fingers, she opened her iPad, synced to their home iCloud account. Photos often automatically uploaded there. Maybe there would be something. Anything. To explain what was happening. She scrolled through recent photos. Her breath catching in her throat with each passing image. And then she saw it. One photo. It was blurry, taken at an odd angle. It looked like it had been taken by accident. Perhaps Eric's phone hitting the volume button while he was leaning against something. But in the corner of the photo, undeniable and devastating, was a woman. She had fiery red hair. And she was wearing Natalie's silk robe, the robe Eric had given her for their 10th anniversary. And she was in Natalie's bedroom. The air in the hotel room seemed to crystallize. The vibrant San Diego sunshine outside fading into a dull, oppressive gray. There was no denying it. No rational explanation. The man she had built her life with, the man she had trusted implicitly, had brought another woman into their home, into their bed, while she was away working for their shared future. A strange, almost eerie calm settled over Natalie. There were no screams, no tears, not yet. The initial shock gave way to a cold, hard clarity. Her mind, trained by years of corporate project management, immediately shifted into planning mode. This wasn't a crisis to be reacted to emotionally, it was a problem to be solved. A project to be executed with precision and control. She canceled her meetings for the rest of the trip. The project pitch, the client dinner, none of it mattered anymore. Her priority had shifted 180 degrees. She rebooked her flight, finding the earliest possible option back to Portland. An early morning flight. She wanted to be back before he expected her. Before he had time to erase the evidence of his betrayal. Then, she made a call. Not to Eric, not to Amanda yet. The first call was to a locksmith. She explained, in a steady, measured voice that betrayed none of the turmoil raging inside her, that she needed her house locks changed first thing in the morning. She gave the address, scheduled the appointment, and hung up. Next, she called her lawyer. He was a sharp, no-nonsense woman who had handled some contract negotiations for Natalie's company. She would understand the need for swift, decisive action. Natalie laid out the situation. The accidental photo, the disabled location, the friend's sighting. She explained her plan, her voice still eerily calm. Her lawyer listened, asked a few pointed questions, and confirmed she could put things in motion immediately. The third call was to a moving company. A full-service moving company. She would need them to pack everything. Quickly and efficiently, she booked them for the following morning, giving them a time frame that aligned with the locksmith appointment. Finally, she called Amanda. Her voice wavered slightly as she explained what she knew, what she had seen. Amanda was, understandably, outraged and heartbroken for her friend. But when Natalie explained her plan, her voice regaining its steel edge, Amanda fell silent, then offered her unwavering support. Whatever you need, Nat, I'm there. By the time her early morning flight landed in Portland, Natalie didn't feel exhausted or heartbroken. She felt focused. Every step of her plan was clear in her mind. She had a timeline, resources, and a singular objective. She was a project manager. And this was her most critical project yet. The Uber dropped Natalie off 2 blocks away from her house. It was 7:15 a.m. The sun just beginning to burn off the morning mist. She paid the driver and walked the rest of the way, her carry-on suitcase rolling silently behind her. As she approached her street, a car parked in her driveway caught her eye. It wasn't Eric's sensible sedan. It was a sleek, bright red convertible, one she'd never seen before. A fresh wave of ice washed over her. But she didn't falter. She didn't walk up the familiar path to the front door. Instead, she headed for the side gate, the one that led to the backyard and the detached garage. It was an older gate, a bit creaky, but it opened easily. She moved with a quiet purpose, every step deliberate. She entered through the garage, using the old keypad that Eric thought she had forgotten the code to years ago. She hadn't. She remembered everything. The garage was cool and dim, smelling of motor oil and dried leaves. She left her suitcase by the door and moved towards the connecting door into the house. The house was silent, a heavy, artificial silence that pressed in on her. She could hear the faint murmur of voices coming from upstairs, Her bedroom. She walked through the kitchen, the living room, the hallway, each familiar step feeling alien and charged with a volatile energy. She reached the top of the stairs and paused, listening. Laughter. His laughter. And the light, airy sound of a woman's giggle she didn't recognize. They were in her bedroom. In her bed, laughing over coffee. Taking a deep breath, Natalie pushed open the bedroom door. And there they were, Eric and the redhead, tangled in her bedsheets. In her home, he had a coffee mug in his hand, a lazy smile on his face. The woman was propped up against the pillows, her red hair fanned out against her. Natalie didn't shout, she didn't scream, she didn't even look directly at Eric. Her gaze swept over the room, taking in the disheveled state of her once pristine sanctuary. Then, in a voice that was barely above a whisper, but cut through the morning air like a razor, she said, "Don't mind me, I just live here." Eric froze, the coffee mug halfway to his lips. His eyes widened in disbelief. Then horror. The woman beside him let out a startled shriek, scrambling to cover herself with the sheet. Natalie? She just walked past them, as if they were furniture, as if they were invisible. She walked to her side of the closet, opened the door, and began to pack. She didn't raise her voice, didn't argue, didn't ask questions, didn't throw anything. She simply began to fold her clothes, her movements precise and unhurried. That calmness, that absolute lack of visible emotion, it shook Eric more than any yelling, any screaming match, any thrown dish ever could have. He stumbled out of bed, stammering her name, trying to explain, to apologize. The redhead stayed frozen, a deer in the headlights. Natalie ignored him. She was on a mission. Pack the essentials, get out. By noon that day, the quiet suburban street was buzzing with activity. The locksmith had come and gone, the old locks replaced with new, more secure ones. Natalie watched from the living room window as the last turn of the bolt sealed the house, making it hers, and hers alone. Once more, the movers had arrived in a large truck, their presence a conspicuous disruption in the normally tranquil neighborhood. They were quick and efficient, carefully wrapping Natalie's furniture, boxing up her belongings, emptying the house of everything that belonged to her. Eric and the redhead, now dressed and looking shell-shocked, stood on the sidewalk, watching in stunned silence as Natalie's life was systematically removed from the house they had so casually defiled. While the physical removal was underway, Natalie's lawyer was busy filing an emergency motion for separation and an asset freeze. This wasn't going to be a messy, drawn-out divorce battle. Natalie was taking swift, decisive legal action to protect herself and her assets. Oh, and one more thing. Natalie, ever the meticulous project manager, had remembered the backup storage for the Ring camera. Even though the live feed had been disabled, the recorded footage was often stored in the cloud. With a few clicks, she accessed the archives, and there it was, video evidence, clear footage of Eric bringing the redhead to the front door, of them entering the house, of them coming and going over the past day. Natalie calmly compiled the relevant clips and emailed them to the Homeowners Association. The subject line: violation of neighborhood policy, unregistered overnight guests. The WA rules were strict, and Natalie knew them inside and out. Having unregistered guests stay overnight was a clear violation. The consequences were swift and impactful. The woman Eric had brought in? She received a hefty fine of $2 from the WA. Eric? He was reported for a breach of the residency agreement. And since the house was solely under Natalie's name, a fact Eric had conveniently overlooked when he brought his paramour home, the WA had grounds to evict him. By the end of the week, Eric was out, his belongings piled unceremoniously on the curb. But that wasn't all. 3 months later, Eric, now struggling financially and living in a dingy apartment, applied for a loan. It was denied. He couldn't understand why. What he didn't know was that Natalie, with the help of her lawyer, had already frozen their joint accounts and, even more significantly, had removed him as a co-signer from any shared lines of credit. His credit score, once pristine, was now in tatters. And that bright red convertible he had parked so confidently in her driveway that morning, the one he had apparently leased? Natalie discovered he had used her credit to do it. With a few legal maneuvers, she was able to have the lease transferred and the car sold. The proceeds went towards covering her legal fees. Revenge doesn't always come with screaming matches or broken dishes. Sometimes, it's quieter, more strategic. Sometimes, it's a woman walking back into her house with grace, flipping the script, and calmly removing the chaos, and the people who brought it, from her life. Natalie didn't just catch her husband cheating. She exposed his betrayal, dismantled his comfort, and hit him where it hurt the most, his wallet and his pride. She let him know, in no uncertain terms, that his betrayal cost him everything. So the next time someone underestimates the quiet woman who builds and gives and trusts, the woman who seems gentle and perhaps a little naive, they might want to remember this story. Because sometimes, she comes back early, and when she does, she burns it all down, without ever raising her voice.